Since our last very popular podcast, many of you have been asking, what is Heather Centurioni up to? Stay tuned on this podcast and you are going to find out. You found the Very Cari podcast. Grab yourself a cup of coffee and snuggle in while you and I chat about all things faith, wellness, and healing. Welcome to the Very Cari podcast. And today I have our most popular guest to date, Heather Centurioni. Heather, welcome back to the podcast.
Listen, I'm so excited that we could do this. And I always, last time we did pretty well with sticking to like a good time because, you know, you and I could talk all day. But I just first want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in, listening, sharing it with friends. We just got such great feedback. And I think it was a good lesson in forgiveness and moving on and keeping in line with being in the present and moving forward. And so if you missed it, you need to go back and watch it.
It was a great podcast. And I have to say that there were tons of people that watched it and tons of people that were so healed for some reason by us being on camera together. And I think if Heather's game, I'm going to try to talk her into coming at least once a month and just doing a Heather and Cari coffee talk. Like, let's just chat it out, all things health and wellness. That would be so much fun.
I think it's important. You know, I think we've learned a lot. You and I have grown a lot. We have definitely made mistakes. And I think what is relatable to people is we try and be as honest as we can about that. And we also are very honest about when things aren't going right for us and what works well and what doesn't work. And so there's something very relatable about that in a time when everything is just, you know, prim and proper and perfect. And, you know, it's not that way. And so many of you feel like you have to be that way. So I'm hoping we can just be a breath of realness, if you will.
People can spot a phony. I have said it for years that if I am not authentic, everyone's like, you have such a great marriage. I'm like, I literally yelled at him this morning before he went to work. You have to be real. We all have those McDonald's moments. We all get off track. We all struggle. And if we're not honest and authentic with people, then they can definitely tell. And I think that's what they like about us because we're both authentic. And I think people.
Yeah. And I think we know that it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to be 100% perfect. You and I aren't, and the rest of you don't need to strive to do that. And I think that that's why you and I have like continued to hang in there and help people and lift people up. And that was one of the main reasons why I chose to come back once again and start coaching. You know, I did take some time off end of last year for about 6 months, and I coached the other side of the business, how to do this, how to do it, how to make money online coaching. And I really loved it. And it actually taught me a lot about different things and different approaches that I could do to my own business. And of course, I had many of you, you know, messaging me day in and day out, no matter what I've been coaching or where I've been on, can you please help me? Won't you come back? What are you doing? So it just seems like, why not? Why not?
Perfect segue. Y'all, listen, you may have heard the rumors, but Heather is back in the saddle. And I want to dedicate this podcast. We're going to chat, but I want to hear, Heather, what you're doing. Everybody wants to know what you're doing, why you're doing it. I am so excited to have something to refer people to. There's a couple of programs I really believe in. Lately, I've met some amazing people and I've been able to kind of ask people, well, what are you doing? And then kind of refer them to a program because I'm not doing macro coaching. I'm just doing the spiritual side and the encouragement side. But you're doing it all. You're doing the whole enchilada, the whole low carb enchilada. So we have to hear it's coming soon. And at the time of this podcast, it may be dropping at the time of this podcast. So
yeah, who knows with technology, if we can get it, all the stars align. But yes, I am coming back. I've been working really hard. Of course, I spent the better part of the last 7+ years really thinking about what this whole business of what you put on your plate, what your purpose is, and how to really just feel good finally. And I think that for a lot of us, we have spent so much time feeling like crap. We either have given up or we have that urge. And certainly you and I have fallen into this trap. We latch on to something that's a quick fix, maybe isn't going to be the best long-term fix, and then we're left feeling like a failure again, or really striving to like keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. So for me, I really see three main areas. And I think everyone who gets into health and wellness coaching, well, these are similar themes. Okay. There's no way around it. I would say that my third one, very rarely does anyone talk about it. And if you've worked with me in the past, and when I say worked with me in the past, worked with me, actually done what I've said and shown up, you have seen where this third trick really, really, really can help you. So I am launching Plate to Purpose. And I am really interested in helping you elevate. I am much like Cari. I really don't mind. I don't want to say I don't care, because I don't want it to sound haphazard, but I really don't mind where you are at. What sort of diet are you taking the injections? Did you find a plan that works? Maybe you don't have one, but maybe you are doing something that if that you feel like might work. I'm interested in talking to people about what that is, because I think first and foremost, I've coached tens of thousands of people, and the most successful people, I met them where they were at.
Right.
And
right.
I think that that's really important. You can hardline it and change, and no. But there's such resistance, and we've been doing things for so long that that's just a short-term fix. If you don't meet people where they are at, it's going to be a lot more challenging to coach them. So I don't care really where you're at. I just want to fix it and give you some new tools. I also am keenly aware that getting healthy and getting your SHIT together is not a 30-day plan, is not a 90-day plan, is not a 120-day plan.
Right.
I really feel that in this day and age, with so much going on and so much negative crap coming out of your phones and your TVs and your computers, that you really need to spend a year. So, wah, wah. If you're coming to me, it's going to be long term, but it's really going to work. And I think that that's like, how many of you out there are like, I need it to work? Well, newsflash, it ain't 30 days.
Well, and I think you're doing the hard work, Heather. You're laying the groundwork with your clients, with your, what are you going to call your people in your program?
I don't know.
Heatherites?
No.
There's got to be something. Your people, I'll just see your people. You're laying the groundwork with your people for success. And it isn't like, even like me coaching the people, I do coach people that do GLP-1, 2, that have had gastric surgery. And I always say it's a tool, y'all, like all these meal plans, all of it, they're tools. If you don't do the hard work and you don't lay a foundation, it doesn't matter if you had your entire stomach cut out. Nothing is going to work for you until you do the hard work of dealing with your life in general and finding out.
Well, and that's really, I sort of am the cleanup person.
Yeah.
Because okay, so obviously we're going to talk about what's on your plate. I have a whole purposeful plate pathway that I'm going to lead people through, a very set list of things that you need to do, videos that you need to watch. Let's be honest, traditional diets and meal plans often are rigid and unsustainable. So
right.
It doesn't account for your schedule. It doesn't account for when the what hits the fan. And so it often leads you to frustration, to failure, to binge eating, all of those types of things. So I really have, y'all know I love the kitchen. I redid my kitchen to coach from my kitchen. Okay. That's how much I love being in the kitchen. So of course that's going to be a part of it. We can't ignore what we're putting on our plate and assume that it's just all going to fall into place. Of course, we're also going to be looking at a mind shift switch and being able to edit how you think and how you go through your day. You make tens of thousands of decisions every day, and many of them are poor in relation to your health and wellness. And so, and they happen so quickly. So how do we fix that? Guys, that takes time. And everyone can talk about, oh, this, that, and the other. But we really need to get in there and re-edit and get a red pen out and look at the triggers, look at the traumas. And you mentioned, Cari, that's the hard stuff. A lot of coaches don't want to do this. It requires me being open, and it requires my clients to be open and vulnerable, because if we cannot clean this stuff up and we cannot edit it and we cannot learn how to, you know, really set intentions, really practice empathy, really learn about boundaries. Some of y'all just need some boundaries and need to learn how to say no. You say that you can say no, but I ain't seeing you say no. So how do we foster resilience and confidence? Because that really has a ton to do with your health. And I don't think a lot of people are talking about resilience and confidence when they're looking at diet coaching.
They really aren't. And it's just not something that comes up, because honestly, Heather, anybody can tell somebody what to eat.
Yeah.
I mean, people have
AI will tell you that in 2 seconds for free.
Right. You could literally put into your phone, give me plans for whatever, and it would give you all the plans you need. So you don't need someone necessarily to tell you what to eat. Of course, Heather's going to give you that plus everything else, but a different way to look at food, which is what I love. Your Fast Food Fridays, of course, a fan favorite. I love them. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's such a great idea. So it's just not typical. Nothing is typical. Everything's very simple. Everything's very relatable, but it's also different. A lot of people are foodies, and we have found in the past that people that are extreme foodies, why do they have trouble losing weight? They really struggle. People that are, because I mean,
they
foodie,
overcomplicate things like I did. They feel like you have to have this and this and this and this and this and more on the plate. And gosh, I mean, the other thing that I'm really talking about is going to be, you know, becoming really empowered with your efficiency. I think many people, whether you like it or not, and it's okay, because I have been there, okay, have chaotic time management. Even our type A perfectionists, you get to a certain part in your life, especially if you're not healthy, and you start to see messes up here, messes in your house, the room you don't want to go into, the closet you toss everything into. And believe it or not, that is really affecting your ability to get healthy and stay healthy. And so we have messes everywhere. We have messes within our family. We have messes within our house. You might have a messy desk at the office. You might have a mess in your head. And so really looking at becoming a time management ninja, but in the sense of good habits. You know, people look at time management and they don't link the habits to that. So how do we create better habits for you when it comes to your time management and what you're taking on? Some of you are just have too many messes and are a yes person. Okay, maybe you've heard that before, but if you are that person, you have continued to be that person for years and years and years, and you have let your mind and your health suffer because of it. So how do we fix that part? I think that is, you know, I joke, if you've been following me for a long time, when I was coaching folks that were really unorganized, I told them to call up, I don't know, whoever, the dumpster man, and get a dumpster and fill that sucker up. We have too much stuff. We're holding on to too much crap. A lot of the stuff that we hold on to harbors bad memories, maybe traumatic experiences. And I don't understand. Why are you living? How can you cook yourself a decent meal, a quick fast food Friday, when your kitchen is full of crap? Stuff everywhere. One of the best indicators, and I used to ask people, like, day one, send me a picture of your kitchen. And I knew who was going to need the most help. You know, you have to tidy up your life and you have to liquidate things. We don't need this much stuff. And so I have had a few people that have listened and purchased rented dumpsters and filled them up, and they couldn't believe the freedom that they had just by letting go of that stuff. And then they created space and time. How many of you want time back? I can give you time back.
I follow a gal online called the Minimalist Mom, and I don't believe in extreme minimalism, like one fork for each person in the house. Like, I don't want to do that.
No.
But
don't tell her about my China collection.
Yeah, I won't. We won't. No, you take good care of your China and you use it. So that's different. But do you know that she says that people are happier when they get rid of their stuff? That sounds
It's
crazy.
hard. Guys, it's hard to get rid of stuff, but it's really, really, really important. And the older we get, how many of you have inherited more stuff? I mean, there was a time when my parents were trying to downsize their house, and then eventually when they sold the house, we used to joke. They'd show up here. Steve's like, how many boxes? Is a trailer going to show up? I mean, we have their stuff on top of our stuff, and you don't realize how it just weighs you down. And if they don't need it and we're not using it, it's got to go. There's no reason as an adult, and listen, I don't mean this in a bad way, folks, because some of you are going to be like, oh, she's putting me down. There's no reason as an adult that your bedroom or your spaces should be full of clothes on the floor and stuff everywhere. Okay, maybe,
Amen.
you know, a couple sweatshirts on the elliptical machine you're not using. Just saying, I've done that before. But I got rid of the elliptical machine, so that's a problem. But there's no reason. If you don't have room in the drawers or you don't have room in your closet for the stuff, then it needs to go. Or if you don't have time to manage and put it away properly, we really just need to figure out a better system for you.
It's sad. This reminds me of one other thing, Heather, and you may be able to speak to this, is that I have a friend, anyone that watched the podcast knows my friend Cari, and both her parents passed away in a very short amount of time, like within a couple of years. This poor girl has spent an entire year dealing with her parents' stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff upon stuff upon stuff upon stuff upon stuff, and stuff that she didn't know what to do with. Some stuff that was like Native American, and she's like true Native American artifacts, and she's like, how do I not do misappropriation culturally? Like, what do I do with these artifacts? Back in the 70s, it was fine to have them. Now in 2024, what do I do? She has struggled for a year to deal with her parents' things, and we joke, oh, every time I buy something, oh, I'm leaving my kids stuff to deal with. But we really are leaving a legacy of things. And it has been such a burden for her. She's done a great job, but I worry about that kind of thing.
As we move on in life, look at how much stuff is just junk, right? We look at, you know, cheap clothes are all the rage. You know, stuff is not like it was before. It is not built to last. And so why? I mean, it really, at the end of the day, that has as much to do, your messes, mental messes, physical messes, traumatic messes, almost has more to do with your lack of health and well-being than what's going on your plate.
Wow.
In my book, after coaching tens of thousands of people. So I like to focus a lot on organizing and cleaning up. In fact, if I know someone is the messy kitchen type, we aren't talking about anything on your plate until we get the mess cleaned up, because it doesn't matter.
Well, let me ask you, have you ever in your coaching seen someone who has been able to be long-term successful with weight loss and just have a completely chaotic life?
No,
I haven't either.
No, well, to be honest with you, I could probably only count successful people on one hand out of coaching tens of thousands. So that's how screwed up this industry is anyway. Okay, let's just put it out there.
Yeah.
All right. If I've coached tens of thousands of people, Cari's done the same. Between us, we've probably touched over 100,000 people. I'm dead serious, maybe more. And I struggle to fill up 5 fingers. And of those people, yes, they have had chaotic times. And guess what? They reach out. And they admit, okay, trouble at work, trouble here, trouble there, up a few pounds. Oh my God, I need help. You know, I had a client last year who came back when I was still in health coaching, saw the scale go 12 pounds up and was like, holy crap. And, you know, bought one of my most expensive, we'll get to that too, because a lot of people have been asking about price. I know that concerns everyone. It concerns me too. I think I've got it fixed. But for 12, 13, 14 pounds. And people were like, what? I've got 150 to lose. But she knew she caught it and she knew, okay, here are the triggers. Stress. I've never done well with stress. I know I'm going to eat. Scale went up. Oh my gosh, I have to reach out. And there's this level of sense that that particular person had that like, no one's going to, well, especially reaching out to me, she's not going to belittle me. She's going to open her arms and help me. She's not going to look at this as a major problem. And sure enough, like it was not a discussion. Let's just get back down to business. How are we going to manage the stress, though, was the headline of the day, not macros.
Right. Right. 100%. So your program is going to have the eating component, the get your life together component. Can I ask what the other component is, or is it secret?
No. We've pretty much hit. So they're obviously dealing with your plate, mind shift, editing all of your triggers. And
That's right.
that is very difficult work. And then dealing with your chaotic time
That's right.
management and all of the stuff in your life. You put those three things together and now you understand why this isn't a 30-day program. So we will have a month-to-month option, but the only other option is a year. And actually a few of you have asked me, and I've just been honest, and like, oh my God, a year, I'm doing it. And what I've also learned, not only I've coached both sides, people building this type of business, people trying to lose weight and get healthy. So I feel like I have a really great approach now. But it's always been about meeting you where you're at and figuring out what you need. And people say, oh, well, that's so hard. It should be a $20,000 program. And it is hard because we need to have a level of trust and you need to show up. And I will show up if you show up, and it has to just go that way day in and day out. Otherwise, nothing's ever going to change. But I am also keenly aware of how much, maybe not time, but how much money you guys have spent on things. It's outrageous. Yeah. I can't believe. I mean, I was a career dieter until I met my clients.
I'm telling you.
So obviously there's a huge, philosophy with having skin in the game. We can't offer things for free. Like I need to pay for my groceries so that I can bring Fast Food Friday. But I'm also keenly aware of the price and where people are at, especially in this economy, and how the burden of how much you have already spent on yourself and the guilt that you have of spending more. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I'll tell y'all, you can pay month to month and pay me $97 a month. Now, if you need certain major things, there are going to be a few add-ons. And then you can pay even less if you pay for a full year. A full year will be less than $97 a month.
Right.
We will not be on Facebook, but we will not be on an app. We will be in a dedicated community. So many of you have complained about Facebook. We know that we have had trouble with Facebook. We get locked out of Facebook. Many of you are hiding from people on Facebook. And so I really took that out of so I took high price diets out. I took the Facebook, all of that angst that so many of you have. I mean, Cari and I don't have that because that's what we've done. But I understand and I hear you. And so I went and I found something that it looks and feels like Facebook, but it's not. Okay. So no one will know you're there. No one will know how many people are on the page. I mean, I know y'all snoop. I know there's people checking up and wondering what everyone's got going on. None of that. Okay. And I really think that early on coaching, I realized that in addition to these three pillars or three main big ideas, the only way out is connection and community. Mm-hmm. You cannot do this on your own. And I'm not saying that because I want your $97 a month. I'm saying that because it's the God honest truth.
You have to be connected. And that's why I offered what I offered. And I did not interested in doing macros. I just wanted to help people on a spiritual journey and encourage them and give them accountability, but I also knew that people have to feel like they belong to something bigger than themselves.
Yep.
So keeping those 3 pillars in mind, can you describe for our audience somebody who has lost their weight and they are successful at keeping it off? What does, successful Sally look like to you? Who is she?
I think that she has taken the time, and often much more time than you think or that you have put into it. She has showed up. She, instead of being behind with everything and lugging the past and being worried about the past and often worried about the future, you'll worry about stuff that hasn't even happened yet. And you don't realize that stress and those cortisol levels are screwing everything up. And so Sally, if we're going to call her Sally,
Yeah.
Sally has figured out how to be in the present most of the time. I'm not looking for perfectionists. I really think that there is something to this 80-20 rule. A lot of people talk about it. And so if 80% of the time, what you put on your plate, how you think and what your mind shift is like going forward and managing your time better, if 80% of the time that stuff is going forward and in the right direction and in line with where you want to be, it's very easy to have things over here, the other 20% that aren't in line, and still stay in control and still move forward.
Yes.
Now, when it starts to shift to like 70-30, 60-40, I'm not going to do any more math because 50-50 I can do. Y'all know I'm terrible at math, but
Me too.
Once it starts to get way off, you're going to be way off.
Yes.
And so I think there's that level of being present is super important. And that right there is a whole lesson. You could spend 6 months on ditching your past and just cutting off while you're worrying about crap in the future that hasn't even happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
And you could be able to, just fixing that, you could control your plate. And I really don't even see this far into coaching. I don't really even see any reason for macros and all of that. I've coached people very successfully on here's a food list and here's some things you can even eat that you might even not have thought because of the 80-20.
Yes.
I mean, if we're really struggling and we need to like really sort of look at calories, okay, maybe we need to count some things for a few days just to see where we're at. But I don't see any reason why. Remember those little plates when you were a kid that had like the sections?
Yes.
Okay, they were for the old food pyramid, but I'm like, darn it, I'm gonna find someone to make me some good plates, because that's really just what you learning to visualize and just put the good stuff on your plate is really all you need to do. You hardly even need to measure. I'm totally convinced. I've had people lose tons of weight just by being present when they go to put stuff on their plate. Of course, that starts with the meal planning and all of that. And I tell you what, I launched that meal plan mastery system. If you take time to do that, we'll put a link somewhere so you can grab that. If you haven't taken time to set that out and make that program work, I think I launched it a couple weeks back. I have people that they can't even believe it. They are saving hundreds, y'all, on their groceries.
Yep.
They have time in the evening and aren't scurrying around like crazy women. And everyone's getting fed and happy. There's no tummy aches. There's no fast food, no driving to get something in a bag. I can't believe how much success just in a few short weeks people have had with just my meal planning mastery. Imagine when you do that and these other things. And then it becomes practice, 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 practice. If you're going to be an Olympian, it's not 30 days. Again, back to that whole idea. If you really want to be good at something and you want to be maybe close to the best at something, which we all owe ourselves with our health, right? You have to practice. It's a minimum of 1,000 times of doing something, doing it well and right, not half-assed, not poorly. Mm-hmm. Minimum of 1,000 times right until you can master it. So
that's amazing.
We got to practice.
So successful Sally.
And then we got to deal with all of life and crap coming at us, right? Sick kids, elderly parents. I mean, come on, y'all. We got a lot of What are some of the issues, Carrie, that we're seeing with
How about just
people our age?
how about just the political system? What's going on with our country?
Okay, we're not supposed to talk
I know
politics.
we're not going to talk about politics, but just I feel our whole society feels very unrested right now.
Yes.
It feels very chaotic. And I find that back to meal planning, Heather, when you were saying that, I want to make a point for any of you that are not being present with your food, because I do a 90-10, 80-20. That's how I've maintained my weight loss. Anybody that's not present, meal planning takes the power back from the food. It takes the power back. It gives you the power to make good choices when you are present with your food. And just what we have going on in society right now is enough. Just what is going on in society right now with the craziness that's happening. I mean, what is going on? They were talking about missing animals. I mean, I don't know what's happening.
Eating animals. That's
Eating
not
animals.
on my meal plan.
Just me sitting around thinking about that is stressful. So if you absolutely do not have some sort of plan in place and some sort of structure, we are going to be tossed to and fro with what's happening, just even on our political front, just even what's happened socially, what's happening with your work, what's happening with your relationships, what's happening with your kids. All those things toss you to and fro. If you have no anchor, it's no wonder. I talked to a gal today, Heather, and she said to me, when I get home from work, I'm so hungry. I just stop and grab something. I said, well, what do you have at the house? She's like, well, in the freezer, I have steaks. I'm like, how is that going to help you at 8 p.m.? You need to have that boiled egg and that piece of hard jerky. Like, I don't care. Eat a boiled egg and go to bed.
You have to have, hey, you bring up a good point, because you and I have always been sort of on this. It took me a little bit. It took me time to learn this, but can we just talk about, some people are really picky and you need to get over that. Okay.
I'm not a picky eater.
Okay. There are things that will save you if you would just eat them. Now, I'm not talking gag, allergic, whatever. Okay. I'm not talking that.
No.
But some people are like, and I'm like, you want to be overweight, miserable, unhealthy, unorganized, all of these things? Could you just loosen up a little bit and be like, just yesterday, I knew I needed to eat. I really wasn't that hungry. And everything was like, but I knew I needed to eat. So I wasn't this lady that you're talking about at 8 p.m. Like,
yes,
what am I going to do? And so I just settled. And a lot of you just don't settle. Your settling is the drive-through. Your settling is a bag full of food. And that is just going to get you into a heap of trouble. But I always like to point this out, and a lot of you don't like it when I point it out, is we aren't getting any younger.
It's true.
And a lot of us are within the same 10, 15-year age range. And so we're dealing with, maybe the stress of kids moving out, maybe the stress of kids getting married and starting their own families, the stress of having to take care of parents and elderly. Guys, I don't know how many of you have had to do that yet, but man, that is some of the hardest work you will ever do if you have to take care of your aging parents.
Yes.
And I just don't think, I want you to go into that, or even if you're in it right now, I want to help you through that with strategies of how you can get through that so that you're not a crazy person. Am I saying that it's going to be all butterflies and roses? No, it's not. But there's a way that you can get through it better than you are right now.
Right.
Maybe some of you just need that help. Do you see how I've become keenly aware of life?
Yes.
And all of the robustness of it and how that affects our plate and our purpose. And so that was really the main, how do we really look at that? And there's no one set way, because we all come and you all show up where you are. And many of us have similar things and are in similar spaces, but then we have something else. And so, Sally's not like Anne, and Anne's not like Sally. And so I love that kind of work, and it's hard.
But I like hard work. And going back to prepping, interesting. I told this gal I would stop if I thought there was only frozen steak at home. I'd probably stop at fast food on the way home if I was starving. So we aren't like Heather's saying, you are not setting yourself up for success, and then you wonder why you fail. You're not setting yourself up. No, and then
you blame yourself and you're like, oh, I'm stupid. I'm not good at this. I can't do it. Nope.
No, you just didn't plan.
You didn't plan. And you mentioned I've had quite a few of you, I say fess up because I think you were a little nervous to tell me that you were, taking the GLP-1 and 2 drugs.
Who
And,
cares?
yeah, who cares? And I've
Who
seen a lot of
cares?
people fail, and I've seen a lot of people be successful with that too. So, and I've had a lot of you ask, like, can you help me with this? Like, I'm not getting enough protein. I'm having it hard to drink water, this, that, the other. And can't you just do a program for that? And I mean, you'd be a perfect fit for this because I guarantee you there are other things going on that you need to fix too. There is anyone can diet and lose weight, but
100%.
very few can keep it off because they are not doing these other things.
Correct. People say, how do you do it all, Cari? I'm like, I stay organized. I have things like this all around my house. You have to stay
Be careful.
organized.
What's on that? Someone take a screenshot.
It's on my coming up podcast.
Oh, there's the scoop, guys.
There it is. It says the first two are Heather and Heather.
Yeah.
It is true. And, having, I think also for me people being aware spiritually of what's going on in their life.
Yes.
I don't know if that's something Heather's going to do, but if you need help with that, I'm here for you. I am here for you to help you out. I have a very sweet, small group right now, and I'm totally happy. I want the people who are supposed to be there. And that's what Heather wants for her group. If you are supposed to be a part of her group, she wants you there. And I say that with all sincerity. If you are having trouble hacking your life in general, people say, I can't sleep. Back to the messy bedroom, Heather. How do they sleep when they're taking off the laundry from the day of and putting it back on the bed the next day?
Excuse me, I might have done that last week.
Okay.
80-20, folks, 80-20.
You're allowed to do that. I don't think that's a normal thing for you.
It happens. Life comes at you sometimes. I mean, Steve, my husband, and I joke all the time. He's like, life of an entrepreneur, He's like, what are you up to today? And I'll rattle off like 10 things that weren't part of the list because that's just what happens.
Yes.
But you have to have the ability to go that way, decide first, are you going to go that way and do that and then come back? And a lot of you do not have you don't have good decision making capabilities, and then you lack the presence and the awareness to redirect and come back. And so this is why everything is a mess. This is why you eat poorly. This is why you feel like crap. You're sleeping like crap, all of this stuff. The mess on your bed and the mess in your head, you'll never sleep.
That's true. And Heather, your life is set up in a way in which even if you have to jig and jag and move and duck,
I have time.
You've got it because you've got the rest of your life figured out. So it's not like you're digging your way into your bed every night. If it's a one-off, it's not a big deal. And if it's the one-off that you find yourself at the drive-through, there's a way to make smart choices even there if you have to. So, there really aren't any excuses. There's a way to make it work. You just have to learn the right structure and lay down that groundwork.
Well, and I think a lot of it is if you do that, then you see that you have much more time to take for yourself.
Amen. People need to learn how to hack their life. Oh my gosh. So Plate to Purpose coming to you soon, or maybe already available, depending on when this podcast come out. How do people get in contact with you, Heather?
Well, you can hop on over to my Instagram or my Facebook. You can find me Heather Centurioni, heathercentrioni.com. Of course, a lot of you are probably thinking, how do I spell that last name? We'll put a link here in the podcast. And, a lot of you that are Cari's followers have started following me. A lot of my followers have started following Cari. So just drop us a DM. Like, we answer our DMs. When you get something from us, it's us. We don't have minions out there, and bots, use some technology things, but just send me a note. It's, relatively easy, not any major time commitment, because again, I want you guys to have time to do the work. So, and I've really tried to make a roadmap this time. So no matter if you join us, today, if you join us in 2 months, you will be starting at a specific point and going through things in a very specific order so that you can build and have that momentum, because that's another thing. A lot of you just lack that momentum phase and you figure, oh, I can just transform. I can just be better. And you skip this whole phase. And then no, it doesn't work that way.
It's like
Trust me.
healing. It's just like healing. You have to
It
go
is
through
healing.
it's like grief. You have to go through the stages. And if you try to skip a stage, then guess what? It's going to rear its ugly head next month when it comes back around. It doesn't, we have to do the hard work. Someone asked me the other day on my coaching group, Heather, they said, what did you finally do? I said, I finally made peace with food. I'm not saying I've got it all figured out, by the way. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that I had to come to a place where I made peace. But the only way I could make peace with food, Heather, is that I dealt with the trauma of my former employer. I've worked through the trauma of being fat Cari and now being normal size Cari. Like I've had to work through this stuff, and I had to get out of my own way. I had to get out of my own way. And that is
you can't do that on your own, because you've got the blinders on and you're used to what you're used to. And let's be honest, we're all stubborn at some level.
We all hate to change. It's so hard. I'm so excited about Plate to Purpose. I am so excited about Plate to Purpose.
Thank you.
Plate to Purpose, not purpose to plate. That sounds like Plate to Purpose. You guys, you got to check it out. Get a hold of me, get a hold of Heather. We will put you in the right direction. There is no one right program for everything, but if you are feeling like you're drowning, and it's not just about what you're eating, it's not just about what you're shoving in your pie hole, it is about a lot more for you. And you know that you need to get a hold of Heather and you need to be a part of her program. And I 100% endorse it. I've been waiting for Heather to get back in the saddle so I can tell people what they should be doing. Because they asked me.
Thank you.
They ask me daily, what program should I do? And I'm like, I think Heather's got something on the back burner, folks. It's just wait for that microwave to ding. It's getting close.
Yep.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate you being here, Heather. I'm super excited about your program.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Okay, guys, I'm glad. Thanks for joining us for this podcast, and stay tuned. And you know how to get a hold of us for more information. Have a great day. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. If you would like to find out more about what I am up to, go to verycaripodcast.com, click on the menu button, and under the tab You Are Here, that's a U and an R and a here, you can find out about the coaching I am now offering. I would love, love, love to have you be a part of what I am doing. Head to the website, check it out, and thanks again for joining me today.